You can tell a lot about a camera not by how it performs in a studio, but how it holds up when you're dragging it through airport security at 6 a.m. on 2 hours of sleep, or when it's tossed in the bottom of a backpack wedged next to a pair of sunglasses and a charging cable you definitely forgot to pack. When you're out with your friends, hanging out, and you want to take some awesome photos to just capture a moment, that's where you want a nice camera. And that's where the Sony A7C II shines. Now, it's not just a powerful camera, it's a travel companion. It's been my travel camera for a while now, a piece of gear that just disappears when you're in the middle of a busy street in Thailand or perched on the edge of a foggy cliff in Iceland. Now, this isn't a spec sheet rundown. This is about how this thing feels when you're moving, shooting, adapting, and documenting the places that actually change you. So let's get into why I think that the Sony A7C II is one of the best travel cameras you can carry in 2025. Let's get into it. Alright, I want to take a moment to break down the specs of this camera. And this camera has a 33 megapixel full frame Exmor R CMOS sensor with a Bion Z XR processor. You can record 4K video up to 60 frames a second with 422 10-bit internal capture with a Super 35 crop at 60 frames a second. It has a powerful subject recognition processor with 759 autofocus points. It also has 5-axis in-body image stabilization rated up to 7 stops, with a 2.36 million dot OLED electronic viewfinder and a 3-inch fully articulating touchscreen. So the Sony A7C II is pretty much like an A7 IV. However, it has an additional AI processing unit, thereby improving several autofocusing capabilities. So the issues that you had with the A7 IV, such as the extreme rolling shutter and all that stuff, still exist within the Sony A7C II. That's just the kicker. That's the one thing that you just have to keep an eye on. Okay, a quick breakdown before we do the whole rolling shutter thing. Rolling shutter, if you don't know, is simply described as this. As you know, the sensor is a square. And if you don't have a global shutter, you have a regular shutter just like every other camera, the sensor gets read line by line by line by line. Now, this is perfectly fine if you're doing a talking head or anything like that because you never really see the effects. However, in the event that the camera is whipping and panning and doing really extreme fast motions, you start to get this distortion in the clip. Now, this really isn't a big deal. However, if you're doing something like sports and you're capturing video, you start to see this crazy distortion within the entire clip. Now, it could be usable or completely unusable, and I'm about to show you exactly how the A7C II really handles rolling shutter. It's actually pretty decently bad. You'll see. But here's the kicker, it's not really sacrificing much of anything. You still get Sony's powerful 33 megapixel full frame sensor, you still get IBIS, you still get 10-bit 422 video, and that's a huge deal for a body this size. Most travel-friendly cameras make you choose. Do you want portability or image quality? With the Sony A7C II, you don't have to pick. That balance is rare, and if you've ever hiked to a vista just to wish you brought a smaller rig, you know exactly why that matters. Trust me, I come from using a Canon R5 with a 28 to 70mm f2 as my primary setup for everything. I'm not going to lie, this setup is heavy as hell. I mean, after a while, it truly hurts to just lug it around all day. And let's talk stealth. When you're in a quiet village or just trying to stay low-key at a cafe or market, this camera doesn't scream, "Hey, what's up? I'm a professional photographer." That's often the difference between blending in or drawing uncomfortable attention. And let's not underestimate the 33 megapixel resolution. That's enough detail to crop in without guilt. So if you can't swap lenses fast enough, or you're just stuck behind a barrier at a landmark, you still have flexibility in post. Travel is unpredictable. You don't always have the ideal lens or angle. The Sony A7C II's resolution and full frame sensor gives you options after that fact, which is exactly what you want when you're editing from a hotel room somewhere far from home. Now, the autofocus in the Sony A7C II is what you'd expect from Sony, which is to say, ridiculously good. Face tracking, eye autofocus for humans and animals. It locks on and holds fast. That's clutch when you're shooting run and gun in new environments, when you don't have time to fiddle with settings because something amazing is unfolding right in front of you. Whether you're grabbing candid portraits, fast-moving street scenes, or that perfect walking shot through an alleyway in Morocco, the Sony A7C II does not miss. You press the shutter and it just nails it. That confidence makes you a better shooter because you can focus on composition, not just whether your focus is even working. Now, video shooters, this thing punches way above its weight. 10-bit 422 at Cinetone, 4K 60 frames a second with a slight crop, or 4K 24 frames per second oversample from 7K. That's crazy performance for a camera that fits in your palm. The image quality looks fantastic without a lot of post work. The color out of Cinetone is good enough to use straight out of camera for travel vlogs or documentaries. And if you're grading in post, the image holds up beautifully. I shot a handheld sequence walking through a forest trail at dusk, just ambient light, and the IBIS kept it smooth. The low light held up, the skin tones always tend to look great. So if you're that kind of traveler who just wants to create visual stories, not just snapshots, the Sony A7C II gives you that freedom. Now, I wouldn't use this camera for a professional shoot, but that's the thing. In the hands of any professional, you can make any camera work. But once again, this isn't a professional cinema camera. It's definitely not an FX3, but you can take some amazing high quality videos with it, for sure. The Sony A7C II uses the same Z battery as the other Alpha bodies, and that thing just keeps going. I got through a full day of shooting when I'm out and about, stills and video on one battery, swapping only when I got back to the hotel. But I will have to say that I always make sure that I have two batteries just in case. It also charges over USB-C, which is essential on the road. You don't need a bulky charger. You just plug it into your power bank and you're back in action, ready to go. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity is seamless. So once again, I use Canon cameras for all my professional work. And I have to say that when I tried to transfer images from my camera to my phone, it always, and I mean always, was a hassle to just transfer anything. I mean ridiculously annoying. However, to transfer images directly to your phone with the Sony A7C II is pretty damn seamless. I go on Sony's proprietary app, connect to the camera, and I can wirelessly send it to my phone without any issues. These are the little things that become huge when I'm on the move. Having that connectivity to my cell phone and my camera is absolutely essential. So is the Sony A7C II the perfect travel camera? For me, it's pretty damn close. It's compact but powerful, light but reliable. It gives you the tools of a pro body and a form factor that actually makes sense when you're out in the world exploring, creating, and chasing moments you won't get a second chance to capture. And ever since I picked up this camera, I have to say, I've been having fun and just enjoying myself, snapping videos and pictures and just enjoying the moment. If you're a traveler who values versatility, quality, and freedom, this camera should truly be at the top of your list. It's not about specs, it's about how this camera improves your journey. Easily, this camera comes highly recommended. And if you've enjoyed this video, as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more upcoming content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.